Hello. Do you know what the worst games in the world are? The most horrific and unplayable ones? Well, you're about to find out, because these are the top 10 worst games of all time. Number 10. Aquaman, Battle for Atlantis. The game was made for Nintendo GameCube and the original Xbox consoles. The game is considered bad for having sickening camera, awful controls, and just being painfully boring and repetitive. The city of Atlantis looks dead and bland, which is a shame. Just imagine possibilities of portraying Atlantis. The invisible walls are basically everywhere. Fighting sequences are just button mashing. Also, Aquaman is portrayed weird because he has a hook in place of his left arm. I heard there is a comic with Aquaman having no hand, but when you're doing a video game about Aquaman, don't you think the most recent and popular portrayal is the best to use? Overall, there is not much value in this game, but also, it's nowhere near as bad as other games on this list. Number 9. Zelda the Wand of Gamelon and Link the Face of Evil. Yes, 2 games, just because these games are so similar that it would be stupid to split them into 2 numbers. Also, both games were released the same day. The games are most known for having most awful cutscenes in video game history. If you ask me, it's not that bad, it's rather funny, but while I can redeem that, the rest of the game is just awful. It's a Zelda side-scroll with awful controls and bad game mechanics. Collecting rupees has never been such a mess. You need to hit them with a sword. These games are just the ultimate proof of Panasonic 3DO's failure. Number 8. Custer's Revenge, the most controversial Atari 2600 game. The goal of the game is to get to the other side of the screen and fuck a naked woman while avoiding spears from Indians or something like that. And that's the game! GG guys, GG. The spears don't even touch the ground. When you're making a game that can be made in a day, at least perfect it as much as you can, alright? Or well, it's just a very short game with nothing to do, but its controversial factor just makes it look bad. And that's why it's on the list. Number 7. Ride to Hell Retribution. The most recent game on the list, released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and PC. It's a tragedy that games like this get released in 2013. In the game you have shooting sections, driving sections and quick time event fighting sections. The AI is embarrassingly bad, so the shooting section is incredibly easy. Driving sections aren't much better. In fact, they are even worse because the controls are bad as well as the AI. Also, you explode if you crash into a wall. Quick time event fighting scenes are exactly what it sounds. Nothing more. But the far worst thing in the game are the story and cutscenes. The voice acting is pathetic, and story sick. And sick in a bad way. Also, when you save a woman, she gives you her body to fuck her. Brainless and sickening. Porno logic, basically. There are many more problems, but I won't mention them because it would take too long. Number 6. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In this game created for the original Nintendo Entertainment System, you play as 2 characters, Dr. Jekyll and his beast form, Mr. Hyde. As Jekyll, you're pretty much useless. You can't hit shit and everyone wants to kill you. When you die, you become Mr. Hyde. He's easier to play, but still shitty. There's a catch. Since you're playing the same stage with both characters, but with Mr. Hyde you play in reverse, if you get further than Dr. Jekyll, you acclimate. The game is incredibly slow, frustrating, and has lots of problems. That's why it takes number 6 on this list. Basically, die. Number 5. Action 52. A great bundle of 52 games published for NES and Sega Genesis. Not a single game of all 52 is good. Some don't even work. Most are generic copies of other games and some are just unplayable. Not one is worth your money. Quantity over quality. The most famous one is Cheetah Man. It's actually one of the better games here, and that says a lot. Because basically it's shit. The game changes rules every level, level transition does not exist, and hit detection is really bad. A bundle of 52 pieces of crap certainly deserves to be on this list. Number 4. Bubsy 3D. The game made for PlayStation 1 is one of the ugliest, if not the ugliest game ever made. Just look at these graphics. It's so bland and flat. You would hope that at least gameplay would be good, but no. The camera controls are just the worst. The goal of the game is to collect things and kill some enemies that you actually rarely see. And there's not much else. It's a miserable attempt of a 3D platformer that you wouldn't want to play even if you're desperate. Number 3. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. The game that almost killed gaming in the 80s. It's a very confusing, irritating and ugly experience. The goal of the game is to get home by phoning home. You do that by picking phone pieces from various holes that spawn randomly and by escaping government agents and scientists. Also, there's a time limit. Many call it the worst game ever made, but you have to consider it was made in a very short time, and it also has a reasonable goal. It's just not as bad as the numbers 2 and 1 on this list. Number 2. Big Rigs or The Road Racing. The worst rated game on Metacritic. It was made in 2003 for PC. Technically, it is the worst game of all time. Why? Well, almost nothing is programmed. You're a truck that can go through everything, go faster backwards, and really there is nothing to stop you. The graphics are also very glitchy and your opponent in a race doesn't even move. In newer versions of the game, he moves but you still can't lose. Literally nothing works in this game. Not a single thing other than you moving. So yeah, it's like if I decide to make a game, put you in the random generated limbo with a very bad programmed truck that can reach speed of light going backwards. You can only have fun with this game with a friend, and you can basically laugh at its shittiness. Only one game beats this shit. Number 1. Superman 64. The only worse thing than a game with nothing to do is the game with nothing fun to do. How can you fuck up a Superman game this hard? You're basically just completing some pointless missions with a time limit. Controls are awful. Graphics look incredibly bad. So bad that it's close to Bubsy 3D. The game is most famous for its first stage, going through rings. Yay, so fun. You'd think that you'd do something more interesting as Superman. The whole game is filled with stupid quests like that. Somewhere you can pick cars, somewhere you fight some enemies, and that's also bad, and somewhere you pick up boxes. So much fun. Really, this game takes the top spot for being the most boring, lazy, and stupid game on this list. That's it for this list. If you enjoyed, click that like button and subscribe. What are your opinions? Comment below.